So what we're going to take a look at now is a better way of dealing with boilerplate code, and it's not a particularly sophisticated solution, this, because all we're going to do is create snippets for our query handler and our command handler. And each of our handlers really needs to be their own little isolated components, and there's no great solution for inheriting from a base handler as such. The way that we're using this, that simply doesn't work, and will end up causing more problems than it solves if that was our solution. But there is something we can do, and that's just to use snippets to do this, and that's what we'll look at now. And if we go to Code and Preferences and User Snippets, what we'll do is we'll create a new snippets file for reactivities. So I'm just going to select this one, and I'm just going to call it Handler Snippets, and press Return. And this creates a new file, and it's going to be a new file inside our VS Code folder called handlersnippets.code-snippets. Now these can be a little bit painful to type out manually, and that's not the way that we're going to create them. But what I'm going to do, I'll start with our list handler, and I'm just going to copy into my clipboard the query and the handler class, and just Control C, and then we're going to head over to the browser, and what I'm going to look for is snippet generator. And if we take a look at snippetgenerator.app, then this is a snippet generator for Visual Studio Code, Sublime Text, and Atom. So I'm just going to go into this, and I'm just going to paste in the contents of my clipboard inside here. And for the description, I'm just going to type in query handler, and the tab trigger is going to be queue handler that we use for this. And I just want to make a few changes here as well. And at the bottom of this particular utility we're using, it says here to declare a placeholder, use Command plus I. And I'm just going to come in and take anything that I'm returning from this query handler. I'm just going to overwrite this and type in or use Command and I. And this changes that into $curly brackets 1 colon, and then I'm just going to type in return object to specify this is what we're returning from this, and then I'm just going to copy this, and this is just a placeholder, and we can overwrite this when we use this particular snippet. And I'm just going to overwrite it with the list activity here, and the other place where we specify the return object in here as well. I'm going to keep the data context in here because in almost every circumstance we're going to be injecting our data context into our handlers. So I'm going to keep that there, but I am going to remove the handler logic and just replace it with a comment called handler logic goes here. And what we can do then is we can just copy this snippet into our clipboard, head back into VS Code and go to our handler snippets code snippets, and I'm just going to overwrite these comments inside the curly braces and just paste in my new snippet for the query handler. And we'll also do the same for our command handler as well. So I'm just going to go to the create, and once again I'm just going to copy in the command and the handler into my clipboard and just head back over to the snippet generator and change this to command handler, and the prefix will be C handler in this case, and I'm just going to overwrite what's inside here with the command and command handler. Now I'm going to take out all of the properties because these will be different for every handler. Once again I'll keep inside here the data context injection, and I'll also take out some of the logic from here, but I'll keep the success variable with the await context save changes, because whenever we're creating a new command, the purpose of a command is to modify the state of our application. So that means we're going to be saving changes back into our database, and I'll keep the rest of this as well. And I'll just remove this and say handler logic in place of what I've just removed. And this will be our command handler snippet. And like I say, it's not particularly sophisticated, but it will save us a bit of typing. So I'm just going to copy this snippet into my clipboard, head back to VS Code, and back in the handler snippets, I'm just going to add a comma below my earlier snippet and paste this one in as well. And this is just going to make it a little bit easier to create our handlers. And what we're going to do next is we're going to create a handler for editing an activity.